We're binging Stranger Things for the first time in preparation for the grand series finale on December 31st. And in this video, I want to talk about the fact that in season 2, the Duffer Brothers argue that the corrosive nature of secrets can be countered by love. It sounds a little romantic, but you know, this is a horror show that is as big-hearted as it gets because it's linked to those big nostalgia films of the 1980s. And during this season, they're really getting a little deeper in their exploration of the Cold War and how in that decade that many of us were children in, myself included, we had this very shiny, pretty, colorful veneer above our lives, right? The colors were so bright and the hair was so big and the movies were so big-hearted. All of these stories that we had were very optimistic. There was money running around. But underneath, all of this was predicated by this very complicated war that was happening between Russia and the US, the Cold War. So even though we were telling ourselves these stories about how wonderful and positive our lives were, there was a whole thing happening underneath where these two big powers were spying on each other. And unlike other wars where we're literally killing each other, this war was conducted through secrets and espionage. And as we learned in season 1, the whole reason that Eleven and the other children like her came to be was because we were trying to use them as weapons in the war against Russia. In her case, she was used as a spy on spies. She was able to find the spies and listen to what they were saying. And that way we were able to know what Russia knew about us. So the whole series is trying to get us to see that this seemingly safe world that many of us live in is not as safe as it seems because its foundation is darkness and pain and all sorts of monstrous things. And in the show, the darkness finds a way to come out and it really complicates the lives of our protagonists. But the Duffer Brothers, again, are big optimists. And to them, love is the antidote. Now, the US and Russia, not a lot of love. So the Cold War, hard to fix, even today. However, between people and creatures, possible. In Stranger Things season 2, we open with 11, played by Millie Bobby Brown, at least in theory, getting the thing that she's been wanting all her life. She gets a home. That home is with Jim Hopper, played by David Harbour, who remains one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character in the show. And he is theoretically exactly the person who should be taking care of Eleven because he too is broken, because he lost his daughter. And this is his chance to give a little girl who's just as wounded and smart and talented as he is the love that he has been storing up for this child that he lost. This love that's been festering inside him because it has nowhere to go, now has a place. They're theoretically a perfect match for each other. However, they're separated by secrets because he keeps telling her, he keeps promising that she will be able to see Mike, Finn Wolfhard, her love, soon. But he's lying. Why? Because he knows that if she goes out into the world, the government will come and get her. They don't know that she made it out of the underworld in season 1. And he does not have the wherewithal or ability to explain to her the situation because it breaks his heart, because she's a little girl, because he wants to look after her. But by trying to protect her in this way, he really hurts their relationship. She's really, really smart. She's obsessed with numbers. She's particularly obsessed with the truth because people have been lying to her whole life. And in this home that she has found, she thinks that people should not lie, but he keeps saying, soon, you'll be able to see Mike soon. And eventually that creates great friction between them because he's opening some real wounds for her that cause her to flee after they have this big fight, because these lies that he's telling her come from a place of love, unlike the lies of the people who raised her. They don't have the corrosive power that all the other lies had. And as the season goes on, they find a way to forgive each other. In season 2 of Stranger Things, 11 goes on this journey to find her missing mother and her missing sister. What she realizes when she finds her missing mother is that it's too late. As her mother was trying to find her baby, she ended up getting wounded to the point that there's very little of her there. And it's very heartbreaking because all she wanted was her child, and her child is right there. And she can actually tell that it's her child. Everything that she wanted is in front of her, and it can't break through. And it gives 11 the rage that she needs in order to fight the forces, mighty forces, that are against her. One of the things she learns through her mother is that she has a sister, not a biological sister, but maybe an even closer kind of sister, because there was a kid named number 8, and that kid grew up with her as they were experimenting on them. So 11's very good at finding people. That's what they made her, trained her for. So off she goes to find 8. 8 is played by Linnea Berthelsen, and while somehow in the midst of all of this, 11 managed to keep a sense of great sweetness and vulnerability, 8 is all rage and vengeance. She just wants the people who did this to her to pay. And these exceedingly powerful young girls who were wounded and prodded and manipulated finally come together, and they think they've found home, but their philosophical differences end up making it very hard for them to be the sisters that they wish they could be to each other, because one of them wants revenge, the other one wants healing, protection. We have an avenger and a protector, and together they just can't function as they wish they could. But because somehow within their pain they found a way to bond and to love each other, share trauma, that will really bond you. They don't part in anger, they part in mutual respect of each other's versions of what it's like to fight for what they think will make the world better. And that is one of the huge lessons that we need to learn today. How do we agree to disagree with people and not think that they're bad or inferior simply because they don't agree with the things that we are doing or with our methods? It's one of the most moving and optimistic and hopefully somewhat realistic sides of the season. One of the most surprising storylines, at least for me, in season 2 of Stranger Things was the relationship between Dustin, Gaten Matarazzo, and this, he thought it was a pollywog, this little reptile that he found moving around in his trash. Of course, we know this is bad news. It's this little creature. The creature's really cute. The creature doesn't like the heat, which we know is definitely bad news because our upside down world does not like the heat either. But he's so enamored with this being, and he feeds it Three Musketeers, which is about the best thing for Three Musketeers, right? To be fed to polywogs. But it's very clearly not just a simple reptile. And Dustin, who is a little awkward and people make fun of, and he was missing his teeth, so they've now come in, sees this as an opportunity to shine, for it to be his moment. He made this discovery, and even though part of him is telling him that this thing is growing really fast, and you know, he did make it through season 1 of Stranger Things. This is not his first rodeo with creepy monsters. He just wants to hold on to it because it gives him what most of us want when we're teenagers, which is interest and attention from others. And as we were watching this as a family, we were all very frustrated with him because even though we got what he was doing, we felt like he should know better. But he still loves Dart until Dart kills a certain family pet of theirs that is also very beloved by everyone, and suddenly time's up. He must fess up. He knows he messed up, and this secret which has divided him from his friends who keep saying, look, this is a bad idea, suddenly works to bring them back together as they're trying to fix it. Because the great thing about this group of friends is that they, at the end of the day, forgive each other because they're friends. They understand how important it is for this love to continue to flow no matter what you've done. All of that we could have expected, and it makes for great storytelling. What's really interesting is what later happens between Dart and Dustin. It's an amazing move, and I'll leave it for you guys when you watch it. It happens in the finale of the season. But I thought it was a really wonderful nod to innocence and love and compassion, even when you're making bad choices. Perhaps the most painful secret in Stranger Things season 2 is one that is not kept as carefully as all the other secrets are. Will, played by Noah Schnapp, who was the catalyst for all of season 1 as they were trying to rescue him from the upside down world, is now basically connected to it in a way that keeps growing as the season evolves. He, to use an exorcist metaphor, which they're clearly playing with, just becomes more and more possessed by the upside down, particularly by the mind flayer, which is this really creepy arachnid gigantic monster that is hanging out there and has God decided that he's going to take over the shiny world that lives above him. And unlike everyone else, Will is being very honest about what's happening. It's hard to articulate it, but he is so close to his mom Joyce, played by my beloved Winona Ryder, and he even trusts Dr. Owens, played by Paul Reiser. He tells them what's happening, and they measure his brain waves, and Winona looks into his face and says, please tell me. And he does, but it's really hard to explain what's happening because it looks like it could be a hallucination at first, and then when the monster really possesses him, he takes over. Will forgets everybody except for his mom, because who can forget Winona, right? Or your mom. And even through all of this, he continues to try, even using Morse code, when he's truly, truly possessed, to explain that he's still in there. And it is that trust that he has in these people. Winona earned it, Dr. Owens, not sure yet, that helps him make this darkest of all the secrets in the show be the one that is perhaps least corrosive, at least to his soul and to the people around him, because he has not broken the one thing that keeps him tied to others, which is love. As they're trying to bring him back from his possession, they don't use holy water or crosses or anything like that. They tell him stories about moments that they had together when they were so happy, when it was so clear that they were a close family and that they were close friends. They showed him that he was loved, and it's that love that helps bring Will back. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, comment. Tell me, are there any other places where you thought the secrets were undermined by love? And which one is your favorite secret on the show? Which one do you think is most powerful and most optimistically undermined by the world that the Duffer Brothers have created? Thank you, and stay big-hearted.